Hello, I'm Louisa. Welcome to my weekly intuitive astrology show where I help people get clearer about their lives and know the next best step to focus on. If you've ever wondered why certain patterns seem to hold you back, then this show is for you. Join me today as I explore the planets of 4 individuals with burning questions and share planetary insights for all. Hello. How are you tonight? So it's me, Louisa Tanner Munson, joining you for a bit of pop-up astrological fun, magic and mystery. So this is my weekly slot on New Reality TV where I get the chance to answer your questions. And I'm hoping to be able to definitely answer 3 questions from people, possibly even a 4th one. Who knows what's going to come up, because I try and keep these as free and as spontaneous as possible. And of course, what happens in the chat room also can impact what's going on. I can see I've already got lots of people watching and liking. Thank you very much, whoever did that. And I've got some messages coming in. So let's just say hello to a few people right now. So we're joined by Penny Albertella. Now, I know Penny, she's coming from the south of UK. She's saying, hi, Louisa and everyone. Hi, how you doing, my love? We've got Nubianette joining me. I know Nubianette as well. I've had the pleasure of meeting her. Nubianette's joining us from California. We've got Jessica Laurie. Hello from Alberta, Canada, a new friend. Thank you so much. And a Libra sun. We've also got another Libra here, my good friend Jackie Hopkins, coming from somewhere in the middle of America. I forget where now. We've got Lacey Gray. Hi, Lacey. How are you? We've got Anna. Oh, my goodness. Lots of messages coming in. Hi. We've got Black Moon Jesus. I think you were here last week, weren't you? Hi from St. Louis, Missouri. Or is it St. Louis? I think it's St. Louis, isn't it? Lacey Gray saying, first time here. Well, you're very welcome. It's only my 2nd time here. We've got Tom West. Hi, Tom. How are you doing? And also Anna joining from Brazil and Sweden. That's so cool. So right off the bat, I know that we've got a really nice international crowd. That's amazing. Now, I've already closed down the applications for today's show. So if you haven't already put it in, you'll have to send me an application for next week. But here's what happens. I post a link. In fact, it's the same link that's underneath in the description to this particular show. And all you need to do is send me your time, place and date of birth, also your permission, your name and what you'd like to know a little bit about. And I literally have a hat each week. I think I'm going to use a different one of our sun hats. I'm actually living in Portugal and I've got all of these. I've got about 40 different names to sift through. So fingers crossed, you get the message that you're hoping for. Now, each week I notice that there are certain themes that come up, so like last week, our theme was the degree of 27 degrees in the sign of Sagittarius. I don't know what's going to be coming up this week, but I do know that the North Node changed signs a few days ago. So I really wouldn't be surprised if the changing of the nodes has brought up a new kind of reflection, a new kind of questing, a new kind of yearning within people. Let me know what you would want to know about. I'd love to know. I think it's always interesting to do a bit of a check in with all of us, because I also think we're co-creating this as well. So wish me luck, and hopefully I'll be feeling those vibes. Just before I get going, if you're serious about astrology, I absolutely recommend that you have one of these to hand. So this is an American ephemeris from 1950 to 2050. That means I can always do the charts of anyone, provided I've got this. I can it take a bit of time because it's not, I wouldn't be printing it off a computer, and I can look at their future right up to 2050. It's pretty useful. Or the program I'm going to be using today, which is one that is absolutely free to use and it's completely available. I absolutely recommend it if you're learning astrology. Astro.com. They have an ephemeris that you can just print off. All those highlighted bits is where I just print them off every year for a few years in advance. That's my last year print. But it means you can flick through your pages if you're really wanting to keep up to date with what's going on. So I will be referring to my dog-eared ephemeris as I go through this. But anyway, Couple more hellos coming in. Anna Rosa, hi, how are you? I hope you're well. And we've also got Mike from the Philippines joining us as well. So hello, welcome. Okay, right. I think it's time to get going. So what I'm going to do is pull out my first name. I think next week I'm going to use an automatic number generator. So then you can actually see that it's completely random, picking up my first name. And it belongs to, forgive me if I pronounce this wrong. I hope you're watching. Is it Sierra? Seaira. She wants to know about the North Node. And I've got her birthday, so I'm about to put it in right now. So, okay, let's see. So I'm going to share my screen. And this program I'm using is called astro.com. Let me just make a note of the time. So that's today's, that's a look at the snapshot of where the stars are right now. But let's put her details in. Make sure I spell it right. Okay, you see I'm not very good at typing fast. Born the 3rd of August 1994. It's really important to get the time right. I've once done a chart for the PM rather than the AM, and oh my goodness, you only do that once. So she's from Phoenix, Arizona. Again, it's really important to pick the right one because especially in American places, it's very easy to get confused. Okay, so we're wanting to know about the North Node. Okay. Well, that was funny, wasn't it? Because I did say I think there's going to be a North Node theme. Now, this is Sierra's chart in front of me. It's really quite unusual because she's got this conjunction here between Mars and the Moon, and then also between Neptune and Uranus. Really sort of exact and close conjunctions, you know, where they're in the same place, these two patterns. And then she's got a lovely array of planets that are kind of meeting up and connecting. These connections happen at very sort of specific intervals, you know, so this red one here is known as a square of 90 degrees, and this long one here is 120 degrees. That's a trine. So it's this is really interesting. Now what I'm doing is clicking with transits, and it now shows me what's going on right now as of today's date. So Sarah's asking to know about the North Node. So what I'm going to do in this is I'm going to have a look at her North Node, which is in a conjunction with Pluto. I'm also going to talk about what the North Node represents and also examine where it is in her chart right now. And I can see that it's quite an interesting year for her. So the first thing that I would say, notwithstanding just mentioning that she is a Leo, that's where her sun is, and her moon and her ascendant. These are the three most important things: the ascendant, the moon, and the sun. Her moon and ascendant are in the sign of Gemini. This will give Sierra quite an outgoing personality, very chatty, especially with the moon right on the ascendant. That makes someone really, really chatty, really gregarious. You know, you can really wears her heart on a sleeve. Also with the you know, probably quite forthright and quite energetic, especially with the moon and Mars in a conjunction. You know, she'll be really kind of straight to the point, possibly a bit clumsy, you know, might put a little bit too much energy into things. And her Pluto is over here next to the North Node. Now, the North Node is that point in the chart. I should just say at the moment, while I'm looking at this chart, I'm not looking at the chat room, so I will come back to you later on. But this part of her chart is very much to do with the everyday running of her life, you know, like how to get the balance between her home, her work, her money, her health, her diet, kind of, you know, that routine. It's not a very glamorous part of the chart, this house, but it's really essential because every one of these these are known as houses. Every one of these sectors in her chart, ruling every different aspect of her life, are kind of controlled by here. You know, like if you manage everything really, really well, then these all by default go quite well. So I would say the first thing, one of her life lessons, something to work on, is ensuring that she's able to get a really good balance and be able to keep it together, you know. So I think establishing routines is really important, and establishing routines that really help her to flourish as a person, given that she's quite gregarious, eminently social, very active, needs to move around a lot. Now, the North Node is in the sign of Scorpio, which is interesting because it brings up challenges to do with depth and trust, and transformation. So transformation is a really huge issue. And so I really think that, you know, one of the things that Sierra might be doing is especially in a conjunction with Pluto as well, because Pluto is one of the rulers of Scorpio, as is Mars. And so her very strong Mars in a conjunction with the moon and ascendant also gives her a very sort of like a strong need to get involved in changing things. You know, the Mars and the Pluto energy here is so strong that I think, you know, she's the kind of person that has the dynamics, the kind of pizzazz, the wow factor to be able to help people facilitate change. It wouldn't surprise me if she has something to do with the body going on here, given that she's got the North Node in the 6th house and also Mars in the 1st house. You know, there's a lot to do with energy, how she manages her energy, in particular her physical energy. So it wouldn't surprise me if she's had to make big changes because of needing to manage her health and making sure it's okay. So Sierra, I'm going to talk directly to you now and not so much teach about your chart. But yeah, the North Node, I think, is symbolizing for you that there is this really deep need to transform and keep transforming. So for instance, if you've grown up with a narrative in your life that everything is a certain way, and you can see that it's actually not like that, you'll be calling it out. And most likely in your early life, that has caused some problems, you know, because people will be like, oh my God, there she goes again. Oh, why can't she just do this? This is what everyone does. This is the easy way. But you have to find your own way. And that's really part of it. You know, you might find that the Monday to Friday 9 to 5 is not for you. The challenge for you is finding a way to slot your lifestyle in a way that's going to give you joy, peace, and pleasure. Now, the North Node very recently has been in the sign of Aries and very much going through the 11th house. It would have been bringing up lots to do with networks, with support systems, friendships, and also I always think of stepchildren. I don't know if you have any stepchildren. You might do. I mean, you're 30 now. So you might actually have some stepchildren. I don't know, but it like steps and sort of extended family, kind of friends of partners and things like that, and people related to your partner as well, if you have a partner. So there's a lot of sort of extensions, like people coming into your life, maybe because they're part of your tribe or your community or whatever you've created. But also maybe because of, you know, what's going on in your life, and like friends of friends of friends. It's like a much wider look at support systems. And so that may well have brought in some challenges. You know, it might have brought in some sore spots. You might have had to learn like who you can trust, and also maybe, you know, why and how things might go a bit wonky. You know, I note that over the last 18 months, Chiron would have gone into a conjunction, I think about April of last year. You know, that in this part of your chart could have awoken a lot of insecurities about people around you. But the good news is, and this is what I want to focus on, is it's moving into the sign of Pisces. It's moved into the sign of Pisces and it's just gone into your 10th house, which is all about your career. So whatever you've been learning in terms of support systems, networks, in particular, if you've been working in a way that has support from big funds or charities or big organizations, I think you've in the last couple of years have been able to make headway with support systems outside of your local, I guess, your local remit. It feels like you've been quite out there, and possibly the people you've been involved in have had quite high level goals or aims. It's almost like there's been something that you've been working on for the benefit of the collective. Now what's coming up is your opportunity to use what you know and to allow it to flourish and to build a career, or to build a more certain career on it. Now, the nodes, excuse me, it'd be wrong of me to talk about the North Node only, because the North Node is just one side of the equation. There is also a South Node that is always exactly opposite. And for you, the South Node has just gone into the 4th house. So what you might find over this next 18-month period, this is going to be taking you into July of 2026, when the North Node goes into the sign of Aquarius. And then soon after, it'll be in a conjunction with your midheaven. It feels like what's going on in this next 18, well, let's say 20 months, to take you from here to your midheaven. What's going on is there is an opening to really create lasting impact in terms of your career. So, and this may well take you out of your home. It might change how you're living because of your work. So they go hand in hand. You know, when you're developing this area, it automatically affects this area. So, you know, what I would say is live as openly and as freely as possible. Really check your assumptions as to what you need in terms of your home life, what managing your life in general entails, because obviously, you know, this is quite a lot. And when you're looking at your career, I would check in with yourself, or get a good coach that could check in with you on a monthly basis. At least, you know, the North Node is related to the cycles of the ecliptic and also the celestial planes. And so at some level, it's got to do with the sun and the moon. And so I always think, take your pick. Are you going to check in with yourself at the time of the full moon or the new moon? But pick one or two, and, you know, check in with yourself and ask yourself the following questions, or something similar. So you might ask yourself, how have I been inspired in this month? How have I been moved and excited? What have I learned? What have I really sucked at? And then more importantly, ask yourself, how has this affected my home? And how has this affected my enjoyment at home and the quality of my home life? Then when you've got those answers, I think that's going to start to build some ideas as to what you might want to repeat, what you might want to curb, what you might want to have a conversation with your partner or your family about. And it's also worth asking, could I streamline this? If I could do this to a bigger level, what might that cost, or what would that take? The reason I'm asking this is, you know, this particular transit could really kind of blow up your career in quite a big way. So much so that over the next 18 months, let's say 20 months, that it could take you to a whole new kind of career. So what I really anticipate for you at the moment is you almost want to think of your career as the next stepping stone, and consider that what you're working on now might not be what you're working on for the rest of your life, but it might be something that evolves and starts to change at the 18-month, 20-month mark. You know, so you're giving it all that you've got, and then 18 months, 20 months, it's likely that there's going to be a rethink in how you are working and a rethink in how you are living. And it's quite a big shift. So, you know, if you can look at your career from the perspective of achievable outcomes, but transferable skills, I think that would be good. So keep your eyes and your ears and all of your listening from all of your senses as open as possible to possibilities, because I really think this is going to be good. There are definitely some key dates. I'd love to say more, but I know I need to check in with other people. There are so many big things. For instance, you know, Jupiter's going to cross this part. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on really here between your career and all the contacts in your career field. But I really wanted to hone in on the North Node. So I hope that's helpful. If you do want to know more, then please do check out Feel Good Astrology, my YouTube channel, because I've just launched a really big North Node video there. So that might also be helpful to you. But anyway, thank you so much. And let's check in with the chat room. So that's the first one done. I hope that was helpful. So let's see what's going on here then. So We've got Jessica saying, superstar. Thank you. Anna Rosa, I'm good. Just caught this. Mother Mulberry from South Africa is sending kisses. And is the zeros, are they cuddles? I'm not sure. Gabrielle, oh, sorry. Is it Thea or like Tia, like a TH that's kind of pronounced T? Who knows? Thea, I'm going to say Thea. Thea Gabrielle from Santa Cruz, California. Hi, everyone. Hi there. Sierra sounds like fun. She does. I think you'd get on with her. Good day, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that. Oh, Whitney's here. My good friend Whitney Mullings. She's brilliant. Hi, gorgeous. Hi, back to you. Thank you so much. Much love, Louisa. Jodie Lee is saying, hi, Louisa and everyone. We'll catch up on this. I hope you enjoy it. Anna Marie Jansen saying, a big hello from, is it Leiden in Netherlands? Tasha, not for the first time. I had a lovely conversation with Tasha Salinas earlier. Hi. Cordelia Blake joining me. She's not far away from me, but I've not actually met her in person. But hi, Cordelia. I hope you're well. So that's good. We've got a lot of people here. So let's pick my next person. Oops, I just almost pulled out part of the hat. Hang on 1 second, just so you can see I'm doing this. Not the ribbon of the hat. Okay. The next person was born in the USA. I can see that. Born in Missouri. And the next person I'm going to be looking at is someone that's completely new to me. I've never met this person or spoken to them, not that I'm aware of. But drum roll, if I could do one, it's somebody called Michelle Hedges. So let's add in Michelle right now. So just adding this in. So Michelle is asking, when will my business take off? That's such a good question. Really, really good question. I wonder what your business is about. So Michelle was born in 1970 at 12:40 p.m. in a place called Cape Girardeau, it looks like, in Missouri. You're not the only person from Missouri here tonight. Right, let's have a look. So this is Michelle's chart. I don't know what that is at the bottom. Let's get rid of that. Oops, I forgot to add that in. So I hope you can all see it now. Just going to say another couple of hellos. Corrine is saying, can you recommend the next transit to look for after the North Node moves through the 10th house? I feel like I missed it. Tell me more. Like, do you mean what in terms of the previous chart? Sure, I'll say a little bit more about that at the end if I've got time. Dolores is saying, my first time on this channel. This is so interesting. Thank you. I hope you enjoy it. Black Moon Jesus is saying, I'm Michelle. Oh, hi. Hi, that's great. If you want to give me some extra details. Hi, April. How are you? Yeah, Jackie's saying, yay for Missouri. That's who I was talking about. Dolores is saying, that's a spiky looking birth chart. So let's have a look at Michelle's chart now. So Black Moon Jesus. I love people's names on YouTube. It's great. Right. So Michelle's chart then. That's interesting. Just as we're doing this, the moon is crossing over her ascendants. That's really bringing her into her senses. So it's interesting that someone just said that's a spiky looking chart. How I see it is there's a really kind of defined area here in Michelle's chart. So she's got a very tight conjunction. Well, actually not that tight. Pluto's at 25 degrees in the sign of Virgo, but she's got a tight conjunction here between Uranus and the moon. Now, I know a lot of people that I speak to actually who have a moon and Uranus conjunction. It makes them highly, highly mystical and very sort of, they have quite synchronistic, sometimes chaotic, sometimes very unusual kind of lives. They have a very sort of different kind of tempo to most people, and very sporadic. You know, you might be really, really intense in something for, quite some time, and then suddenly it drops from view and you're freed from it and you're onto something else. So one of the constants, which is very, very difficult to plan or to know, in the charts of people with Uranus and Moon, or Uranus and the Sun, but in particular Uranus and the Moon, because the Moon is very much about our instincts. One thing for sure is that, Michelle will never be able to be pinned down into anything like completely, because, I think Michelle will reserve the right to change, when that's something, that special something that needs to just kind of drop in for her to understand, then all of a sudden it's like everything changes. And so I imagine that Michelle has lived a life of many epochs, so she's had a very sort of like clearly defined time here and a time here, and then there's this very sort of clearly defined space up here. Now, I love the Mercury and Venus conjunction in sign of Taurus. Again, I know quite a few people with Venus and Mercury conjunctions, and they are the salt of the earth. They get on with everyone. They can communicate really deeply and beautifully with people in a way that doesn't seem to cause offense, which is quite some skill. That it's like they can say the same thing and I could say the same thing, but with them it would just come off in such a beautiful way and nobody would like take offense. So there's something that renders them kind of really charming. They have this ability. Now it's also Mercury in particular is just in a conjunction with Saturn, and so that also gives Michelle the ability to analyze data, analyze everything really, really beautifully, to really see the heart of something and to be able to understand things possibly in a scientific way. Also, I would say, I know somebody with this Uranus and Moon conjunction can almost, it's interesting because the Moon does show our emotions, but they can almost turn the emotions off and see the emotions, almost see matters in a slightly abstracted way. So I do think one of the things that's quite unique about you is your perspective, your ability to see things in a way that other people are unwilling to see, won't put themselves through the necessary shifts to be able to see things from your perspective. You will be quite courageous, I imagine, to be able to come to the truths that you do, and living with a sense of freedom, living with a sense of authenticity is really, really important to you, not to be underestimated at all. Now, something else I do see, and it's not highlighted here, is the Moon and Uranus are in an opposition to Chiron, and your Chiron at 7 degrees will have been really impacted in the last 5-6 months or so, when the North Node, possibly 7 months ago, when the North Node went over it. Chiron is a place that often brings up a bit of hurt, and a little bit of a shift can come through the learning. Now, I haven't even started on when will my business take off, because I was really kind of curious to get the feel for you. Seeing as Uranus is so strong, and that it's early in the degrees of the air sign, I think that's significant. Uranus is going to be changing signs this year on the 7th of July. And he's like having a little bit of a taster and then he's moving back. Now, what interests me about this is that Uranus is going to be making a conjunction with Mars. Now, that is really a hard and strong energy, where things can really, really move. It can also be quite accidental energy. And it can also, I think, bring up this energy of like a serendipitous, sudden need to act. Like all of a sudden there's this feeling of deep knowing and you're going to do it. And you might not even need to know it for long, but all of a sudden there's this really strong feeling of needing to act. Now, I think a lot of this depends on what your business is. If your business has something to do with things like crypto or trading or something like that, then I think you need to really pay attention to what's going on around this time, because the changes that could just suddenly come in could be quite shocking. I should also say that like Uranus is sort of dancing over this point. So he's going to go forwards over your Mars and then go retrograde over your Mars as well. This is the first time this energy's ever happened in your chart, and it won't happen again in your lifetime. So it's pretty big. In this last year, Uranus has been in a conjunction with your Mercury and your Venus. In fact, of April last year, there was this very strong and compelling conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus. And that would have been happening right over your Venus, which is really, really fortuitous. So what I would say is the things that you were starting to bring about or think about and conceive of in April of last year, around the time of this big conjunction, magically connected to your Venus, which has everything to do with flow, and fortune and feeling good. And, Jupiter and Venus are both benefics, they're beneficial planets. So, anything that you were thinking around April was a seed that you sowed at the right time. And so anything that you were considering then is likely to take off, first of all, as Jupiter changes signs. And I think that is on let me just check. I think it's on the 9th of June. That Jupiter changes signs and goes into the sign of Cancer. So that's a really, really strong time. That's in your 11th house. So one of the things that can help your business, I'm going to give you a few dates here, so it would be worth having a pen. So around the 9th of June is a big time. In particular, I would wait for the new moon in Cancer, which is on the 20, it depends, you have to check it out in your own time zone, but like the 24th to the 26th of June is a really, really lucky time. So you've got the sun in a conjunction with Jupiter, the new moon in Cancer at 4 degrees, which whilst it would be in a square here, will be really quite dynamic. And then Mercury goes into Leo around that time. So that's quite an interesting time, up here. The 7th of July, when Uranus comes over here, is decisive. It also almost has a cutting action. So if part of your business has to do with moving one part of it on and cutting the rest off, that also makes sense around that time. So you might find that what is happening around June is letting you know what's likely to bloom suddenly. And come July, that you're like, okay, well, for me to be able to do this, I need to cut back on these things. These are creating drag. So that's another thing that I would say is watch out for the drag, because there are some energies that are going to be shifting really fast for you. And so you just all you need to do really is to be in the right state to be able to move quickly. But there's more. So let me just share a couple of other things. So the other thing that I think is important to focus on, and that is the moves here, because, and again, a lot of this depends on the kind of business. So I think for crypto, if you're doing something like that, in fact, let me just check if you've given us any clues, because that could save some time. No, you haven't. So that's fine. Like Uranus manages things like design work, computer work, also social philosophy, any kind of wild and wacky things, anything where you're spreading information or using the internet to make money. They're all very much Uranus things. And these are the things that you could act very, very quickly on. If you've got things going on where you've borrowed money, then or that your assets are tied up in some way, it's worth checking out what that might mean and keeping an eye on it, because there's a lot of change going on here. So again, a lot of this depends on what's happening in your business, so if you're needing a lot of investment from other people and a lot of like stakeholders have a lot going on with you, if you're not completely free, which I don't think would happen, because I think your need for freedom is probably outweighing. I don't think you're going to start a business where you need so much from other people. I see you more as a lone wolf, as somebody who's a lot more independent. But if there's a lot going on here in terms of shared assets, the North Node crossing from Aries into Pisces is signaling that it's time to get really clear about what you owe, who you owe it to, and how you owe it to them. And to get really to it, it could be very difficult to know what's what. So anywhere where you've got situations of shared ownership, it's important to get it tied down as much as you can. Also, Neptune's going to be going over this point, as is Saturn. So Neptune at the end of March and Saturn at the end of May, like the 25th of May. So there's going to be some new feelings in terms of the possibilities that you have with partners, you know, in your work, or who may well come into your work. So I think, again, get things as tightly understood as you can, because it can be a bit confusing. From May onwards, things should get a bit clearer. Now, one point that I think is particularly worth looking at, and that is between the 2nd of March and the 14th of April. During that time, we've got Venus and Mercury retrograde. Not necessarily at the same time. Venus is retrograde from the 2nd of March to the 13th of April, and the Mercury retrograde fits in between those two dates. But they are going to go they're going to go over your Chiron here, retrograde over it, back into here, and then forwards again. And it's all done and dusted by the 13th of April. So I probably wouldn't want to make big decisions during that time. However, if you're selling something of value that people feel nostalgic about, it could be a good time to sell, but not so much a good time to buy. So I don't know if any of that is helpful in piecing things together for you. All in all, I would say the June and July mark looks really exciting. But my last comments to you is that this year is a year of two halves. It looks like there's a lot of development up until July. And then it feels like from July to December, we're sitting back a little bit and reflecting and trying to integrate. And then as you go into spring of 2026, there's, you know, Uranus goes back into Gemini, Neptune and Saturn go back into Aries, and then it feels like whatever you've been working on this year really comes into force. So to answer your question, when will my business take off? I see it kind of incrementally. So you might give yourself a couple of maybe 2 or 3 milestones to achieve this year, knowing that as you go into 2026, everything that you've worked on consistently this year is going to come in even stronger. So I hope that helps you. I really do. And I'd love to know what it is that you do, really, truly. So I hope that was helpful. Let's say hello to some more people. So Anna Marie saying that's a very nice, strong 10th house. Is she a slinger? I don't know what a slinger is. Sorry, slinger. Nope, I still don't know what that is. Shannon's joining us. It's Open Door Heart from Texas. Howdy, how are you? Well, that makes sense. Black Moon Jesus is saying, I'm a psychic. Well, that's brilliant. That's fantastic. So when I was talking about your 8th house, let me just bring that back on. So when I was talking about this area here and talking about loans and stuff that you might share with other people, that's interesting because the 8th house also has to do with death, dying, reincarnation, also spirits, but also family business and all the things that are going on with that. So it's like where all of our shared resources go, including things like shame, blame, guilt, and anger. So one thing that I would add is, you know, actually this time of retrograde would be really quite helpful, because I think your ideal clients that want to check in with people from the other side, they would absolutely, I think the shame, blame, guilt, and anger, the idea of old stories going back through the generations. It's a time of massive clearing and like realigning and resetting and kind of getting the story heard, you know. So I really think that your role, especially with all of this changing during this time, will be really important in the life of a psychic. And also with Uranus right up here, I wonder what you were doing or thinking about in April of last year. I think it was April the 21st when these two came together. It was a really, really stunning sort of energy. And actually one of these people who has this is psychic. So that absolutely figures. So thank you so much for that. I hope that was helpful for you. Yeah, really, truly. So always been a lone wolf and a misfit. Me too. Thank you. You're so welcome. So let's see what else is coming in or who's coming in. So this is possibly my last one, but I might be able to squeeze another one in. Now, I've got a little bit of an essay with this one. So this is Claire from Indianapolis. I think I've worked with your chart before, actually, not on this show, but I think I might know this chart. Let me just double check. I'm going to put you in from scratch. So Claire, sorry, without an I. So 17th of November, 1981 at 14:06 p.m. Indianapolis, in Indiana. Okay. So Claire is asking me, let's get rid of that. Did I put this back in? I forgot again to put it in. I'm so sorry. Right. So let's have a look. So Claire is saying, I've got a Pluto 8th house Libra square my nodes. Let's just double check that. There's the node. And then the south node would be there. So that's at 24 degrees and that's at 25 degrees. Indeed, it's very square. Suggesting I have some debt or work to do regarding Venus in my 11th house Capricorn. Yep, which is actually on the south node. But I don't understand what to do to satisfy that work or debt. What should I be paying attention to in order to shift this? Okay. And access the North Node in Cancer in my 5th. Pluto is bending that North Node, and I want to understand what that means and how to best work with it, please. Thank you. Okay, so not so much a reading, but more a little bit of advice on how to work with that. First thing I want to share, and this is a kind of general message actually, Claire, but to anyone that's watching tonight, because one thing that I recognize is when people are listening in, sometimes I won't pick out your name, but a bit like when you go and see a medium, or if you go and see Esther Hicks, to get an Abraham message, often the messages that come out are for everyone, and I do sort of set my intention that whoever I'm talking to, there's some relevance to everyone. I really hope that happens. But one thing I do notice is it's really easy to get traumatized in our charts and to learn something academically, to learn that, when we've got something square our nodes, there's a huge debt that we have to repay, and we might not be free of it. And there might be something in that. I think, when we're going, like working through our birth chart and going through life, if we look back at the times when our life changed quite considerably, it probably does have something to do with this and the nodes. But it's also important to give yourself a break as well. So I am going to do my best to answer this question for you, Claire. But I almost don't want you to take it too seriously. I want you to have some fun with it. And to be lighthearted, so, I really think that astrology can come across as really fatalistic and a little bit punishing. And that's really not the kind of energy that I want people to take from it, really. I mean, it's entirely your choice how you take it. Interestingly, you've got your sun in a conjunction with Uranus, and not Sierra's chart, Michelle's chart had Uranus in a conjunction with the moon. Uranus is really an astrology planet, and when someone's got a Uranus in a pretty strong place, it often shows a really deep interest in astrology, and an understanding of cycles, and wanting to be quite radically working with yourself. So yeah, let's see what we can do. Anyway, first thing, I always think the South Node shows us what we're resting on our laurels about, so the South Node here, I think, you may well have historically had it slightly easier, that, you're quite likable. You've found lots of things quite easy. People have probably I think, when Venus is highlighted, in particular with a conjunction to the South Node, it can show like a good looking person, somebody who's quite sort of feminine, but kind of strong. Capricorn Venuses can give quite good bone structure. So I suspect you've been able to get by because of how you've been. Maybe you just have a sort of natural grace and beauty, and people make allowances. It's almost like it's really easy to rest on the energy that you have and that people are reacting to, and whilst that is helpful, it can also sometimes be a bit difficult to trust that the people around you are liking you for who you really are, and not just because you kind of look the part or fit the part. And so one of the things that really comes to me is the fact that maybe there's maybe a distrust. Like, how can you really trust that people like you for you? It's quite a strong energy, that kind of thing going on. Your Pluto is also in a conjunction to Jupiter. So Pluto and Jupiter, when they come together, especially in this part of the chart, the 8th house, I think has a lot to do with transforming faith and transforming your beliefs about yourself and about the world in quite a big way. Like Jupiter and Pluto really shows a really strong need for faith, a strong need to understand how things kind of fit together, and a trust in it. So it's I don't know, like, this is really underpinning how you are with friends and family. Venus in the 11th is traditionally about friends as well. So not only might you seem quite pleasing and probably nice looking, but you probably also have quite an easy time of it with friends. And then with Jupiter and Pluto, and also Mercury in the 8th house, and Mercury in Scorpio, you might find that lots comes up in relationships, things to do with possibly ancestral things, possibly where you're feeling judged. Both Jupiter is a bit of a judge, actually. Jupiter and Pluto, very, very strong energy. So I suspect it almost doesn't matter how much you're liked, you probably never feel quite good enough, and often feel like you're judged by other people's expectations that you actually don't know for sure they actually have. And if people say like with your ascendant in the sign of Pisces as well, that makes you so super sensitive. And with your sun in the sign of Scorpio, that also makes you really, really sensitive, and very easily discouraged. And so even though you've got this like lovely, strong Venus in Capricorn in a conjunction with your South Node, and are very popular and seem really easy and lovely, I suspect that you don't have the underlying resources to back it up. Like you are nice, but you don't believe it about yourself. And so what I would say, and this again, this is probably another reason why it's hard to talk about the nodes, in a way that doesn't cause you to punish yourself, is how can you do everything you can to boost yourself up right now. Something else pointing at a tendency for you to punish yourself or think down on yourself, and almost be religious about you clearing the past and clearing this, that, and the other, is Chiron in the 2nd house, which can show this feeling of even when you do the work, you'll never be good enough, or even when you do the work, you might not believe it. It's like, how can you come into this energy of receivership? So to use your own words, what should I be paying attention to in order to shift this and access my North Node in Cancer? Now, this is interesting because the North Node in Cancer in the 5th, I think, is about you being able to feel creative, to light yourself up, to feel absolutely joyful in what like lifts you up, what lights you, what sets your world ablaze in all the best ways. You know, like the North Node in the sign of Cancer could also be you wanting to be a mum, or wanting to have a sort of family experience, to have fun with children, to be innocent and playful, and to not have all these deep and dark thoughts going on. I think it starts with radical forgiveness, and I think it starts with you. You know, most likely you just need to forgive yourself. And I say just because I'm pretty sure everyone here is like nodding. Oh yeah, I've done this. I still am doing this. I'm rubbish at this, whatever. But I think it's really important to be accountable to yourself. And accountable, like if you were to be coaching somebody else, or if you were like, if you had a daughter, for instance, like a little you sat on your knee, what would you say to your daughter if you could see that they were doubting themselves and just like couldn't believe that there was nothing wrong with them? You know, what I almost see is this is almost like the fall from grace, you know. Like when I tune in, it's almost like the feeling of being in the womb, you know, like all of your needs are supported. Hopefully, you know, you're in this place where you're completely supported, completely at peace, and just able to be yourself. It's completely okay for you to just be you. And then at some point you come down this birth canal and you're separated from that beautiful, loving presence, that feeling of warmth, that feeling of comfort. And then you're in this whole new paradigm. And it's like your whole world has been shifted. And, you know, and now in this new world, you realize that when you look cute and when you do certain things, you get attention, you get love and affection, and you get support and security. But it feels like you're always having to do something to be able to get that. And so even though we're in this kind of physical paradigm, you know, we're in this place of polarity where we observe, you know, positives and negatives. We observe feeling connected and disconnected. And it's really, really hard. And I think, you know, probably what's needed is to go back and reconnect to that feeling of safety and security. Like, this is really a really deep question. That's probably why I gulped a little bit when I read it, Claire. But I think this is going back into that feeling, the best feeling of security you can. And of course, I don't know if it is entirely possible to ever completely fill your cup up so much that you know you're enough as you are. I almost want to cry for you, because if and I'm not pitying you, I promise, but like in this moment, I'm imagining sitting my daughter on my knee. And in fact, I've seen my daughter do this and run herself down, and it's heartbreaking. I feel tearful thinking about it. You know, when I think about any of my children doubting themselves, when I can see how flipping awesome they are, it hurts. It really hurts, because I can see it and they can't. And I know that my mum or my grandparents, or, you know, we all see this in each other. We see the magnificence in each other. And actually all that's needed is for you to be able to reconnect. So I don't know how you'll do it, but I see that as a really deep challenge. And it could take a whole lifetime to do. So maybe don't try and do it by next week. You know, if you set that as your goal, you know, that will be disappointing. So, you know, I don't know, find, if you know of a loving, a loving kindness coach, somebody maybe grandmotherly, or somebody that you absolutely trust, that will hold your hand when you face yourself so openly and so fully that it's kind of shocking. Whatever it is you're feeling about yourself, it is all okay. You are absolutely fine. So I'm going to leave that there, or else I'm just going to keep sounding like a broken record. And I need to just I want to do one very last quick micro question as well. I need to shift my energy. So, oh my goodness, what a load of energy is going on today. So, so I've got Sue loves astrology. Hi, Louisa, love your videos. Thank you for what you do. You're so welcome. Thanks for joining me. Trinity saying, if I am born 20th of March 1988, am I an Aries or Pisces? All charts are different. Any help would be appreciated. That is I'll see if I can answer that right at the end. Black Moon Jesus, you said I can turn off my emotions. Yes. Nomi, hi. Do you also do solar charts? I don't know. What do you mean by that exactly? Let me know. Mars can give her South Node a push. You are of value. You matter. Yes, that's exactly what I was saying. You do matter. Gracious greetings from Kiki. Hello. Naomi saying, do you do solar charts? If so, which house system do you use? In this system, I'm just using Placidus, which is a form of charting. But I usually use the kind of chart that the person is asking for, because interpretation is pretty much the same. You just have to apply different systems. So I hope that's helped you. Jackie Hopkins is saying, when we fill out a form, but we're not read 1 week, do you keep the form or do you need to reapply each week? I think you should reapply, only because you might not, like, you know, in a week to come, you might actually not have anything on your mind. And also in a week's time, what's on your mind might be different from the week before. So yeah, keep reapplying is my Oh, solar return. Yes, I do also look at solar returns. So solar return charts are when at the time of your birthday, at the time when the sun comes back to the exact degree that it was at the time, place, and date of your birth. Absolutely, I do look at those. And I would look at whatever charting system you're interested in. So let's just pick out one name and I'll see what I can do with this. So a quick one, a micro look. At M Grooms. So this is really against time. Quick one. And I'm not going to answer your question, I don't think, M, but let's see what I can do. 21st of May, 1989, 10:33, Framingham. Whoops. That doesn't help, does it? Massachusetts. Yes. Okay. So let's have a quick look at M. M is saying, how can I turn around career and finances? So this is this is also a spiky looking chart. That's interesting, isn't it? So this is just a really, really quick one for you, because I'm going to have to end the show very shortly. What I would say in terms of turning things around is you're coming up to your Jupiter return right now. And very, very soon, Uranus is coming into a conjunction with your Sun. And it's going to be dancing around this point for quite some time. Anywhere where you're innovative, inventive, flexible, willing to travel, do something unusual, I think is going to be something that's going to put you head and shoulders above everyone else. I think you should be looking for something exciting over the next few years, because Uranus is going to be, in this part of your chart. I think the need to break free and to feel like you've always got extra resources is really, really important for you. And the Jupiter return that's going on right now is really showing. I would also ask, what were you doing? What were you doing like 12 years ago? Because that's the last time the Jupiter return came through here. Your Jupiter return is nice because it's in a conjunction with Venus as well. So, there's a sense of luck that's going on right now. So any ideas, any new meetups that you're having, like this is in your 11th house to do. There's a lot of 11th house stuff today, but the 11th house is to do with friends and networks and how we can connect in with other people. So look for spontaneity, independence, and also connectivity. And they are the keywords, I think, to really turning things around. I hope that's helpful. Right. Let's see if there's anything else coming in. There's a few more things coming in, and then I'm going to have to say goodbye. Hello, Louise. This is from Virginia. How are you? What should I look out for in the coming months? Pisces, Sun, Scorpio, rising, Libra, Moon. Sending love to you from Miami. I'll be reaching out soon for a reading. Yeah, I did a reading for Virginia last year, and it was very exciting because Virginia's life took on really interesting changes and journeys. I love that. Yeah, please do get in touch. I'd love to hear what's going on. Sol is saying, hi, Louisa. I'm not late, but happy to be here. Oh, I am late, but happy to be here. Penny saying your watchers are all so young. Ronnie saying feeling stuck as a Virgo rising. Well, you know what, Ronnie? The South Node is going to be going over your ascendant at some point. Right now, it's most likely going through your first house. And so and the North Node's going through your seventh. So it's interesting you're feeling stuck because, it's people around you that are going to be creating a lot of magic and mystery for you in this year ahead. And what you might find is, remember a time when you weren't stuck. The South Node in your first house is going to be reminding you of how you have done it before. So getting unstuck is by connecting into the past and also allowing the crazy relationship stuff to develop, to unravel and see what happens. I'm just going to say hello to a few more people and then say goodbye. I've got to go in about 10 seconds. Still, no, can't jump in, not now. I've never seen the show, but I have a deep respect for what you're doing. Thank you so much. Oh, so good to see you. Newbie saying thank you, fun show. I've got to go right now. Bye, see you next week. And if you've got a burning question that you'd like me to explore in a future show, then please do get in touch.